Ladies and gentlemen, happy Boxing Day, which we've been told is like the Canadian Black Friday. Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield. We've got 1 full hour of DFS and betting advice lined up for you. What's to come, you may say? How about we unwrap some of our favorite plays on this day after Christmas? Take a look at our big winners from last week and even speak with one of our newly minted millionaires. And you could be next. Take your shot at our $1 million top prize this week in our NFL 3 Million Fantasy Football Millionaire Contest. It only costs $20 per entry, and you still have just under an hour to get those lineups in. And if that wasn't enough motivation, not only does the winner pick up $1 million, they also earn a seat to our DraftKings Tournament of Champions live final, the ultimate DFS contest for the best of the best in fantasy. Time is running out to qualify for this event that will take place in January, where the winner will walk away with another $1 million. And look at that championship ring. Ooh. All right, let's welcome in the panel that is going to help you with those lineups, as well as take a look inside the DK Sportsbook. That's where we're going to start with DraftKings contributors Reed Fowler and Steve Buchanan, and a virtual Julian Edlow. So help give the people at home an early edge. You share with us your favorite bets. Julian, in your tiny computer, we're going to start with you. Pats and Bills, AFC title on the line, and you're going with the New England money line. Pats minus 115. Why?
Always does this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we should start with me because virtual Julian is still the only one virtually picking winners on this panel. We're going. I've had the spot circled since the Pats beat the Bills for the first time, and it's a pretty simple handicap. I actually, even though I liked the Patriots again last week, I like them more now that they lost in Indy, a road game, primetime game to a team that we're finding out is really good in the Colts. Now you go to the Pats here. That first win, exactly what Belichick said the morning after they embarrassed the Bills in Buffalo on Monday Night Football by winning when the Bills knew they were going to run every play. They passed the ball 3 times. He said that the entire passing playbook is now open when we play again, and that's exactly the case. Now the Bills are on the road. With New England losing, it's an equally important game for both sides in the AFC East. So the divisional implications are pretty much just as strong for either side. So I think the Patriots showed nothing in that first win. They just showed up and beat the Bills by handing the ball off 1 million times. And it's going to look completely different today, but I still side with the Patriots at home. COVID concerns for both sides with certain players. So nothing too major. I think the Bills being really thin at wide receiver with 2 of their top 3 out is going to play a role, not necessarily allowing Buffalo to pass as much. So give me the Pats at home here.
I feel like the Patriots defense has been getting like so much love though for stopping a lot of like weak teams though. Like I mean their best 2 defensive performances, Bills, Bucks, are like mostly due to weather, right?
Yeah, and look, I think both defenses, even Buffalo as well, I think they're getting a little bit too much positive publicity, right? I think both are a little bit overrated, but Julian's on the right side of this. Like this money line has moved up to minus 125, and the spread has moved up to 1.5. So take that for what it's worth. But when you're the Bills, right, or when we're the Patriots, you just have the Bills' number, it feels like, this season, right, Steve? It's just like, for whatever reason right now, Sean McDermott and Josh Allen and this team, and they're going to be with a lot of key players on both sides of the ball for both teams. That seems to be the issue. One thing I worry about, though, with the Patriots is you saw some weird in-game play calling from Bill Belichick. I don't think that happens this time around, but that does scare me a little bit, not too much. Obviously, these 2 teams have no loss for each other. I'm siding with Julian on this one, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is a big matchup, and if you think the Bills are going to win, take them, too, to win the division as well. Look forward.
Steve, I know it pains you, but I think you have to agree with Julian here.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got a lot of time on his hands, so I mean, he can construct whatever bet he wants to construct.
I've thought about this bet a lot.
Okay.
You need to think about some.
One thing you did say, though, that I will absolutely disagree with, the Colts are not a good team, okay? I'm just going to throw that out there. The Colts are beating teams who continue to beat themselves, okay? Point that out there. Carson Wentz looked like garbage. If it wasn't for that first run by Jonathan Taylor, didn't have all that great of a game. These people next to me are mocking me. I don't appreciate it, but the camera's not showing that. But I'm a professional. I'm going to keep going on. I do like this bet for the Patriots to win against the Bills. I don't think it's being stated enough. Everyone's talking about Cole Beasley being out. That is a big thing. Gabriel Davis has been so much more of a red zone threat for the Bills. He's also out in this game. Now they're going to have to rely upon guys like Emmanuel Sanders, Isaiah McKenzie, not exactly playmakers in themselves. I think that is also a big loss for the Bills, not being stated enough. This is going to be a much different game than what we saw back in Week 13. I do like the Patriots to win in this one, so I'll agree with Julian, but it's not because he makes winning bets. He just has too much time on his hands.
All right, Steve.
The records would disagree with you.
While you're all fired up,
Yeah.
let's go to you. Your favorite bet is Miami to cover. New Orleans Dolphins favored by 3 here.
What's there to worry about? Who's the quarterback for the Saints? It's Ian Book. The only reason I know who Ian Book is because I'm a big trading card collector. I have a bunch of his cards. Not by choice. I just open up the packs and that's what's in there. I have one of his memorabilia jerseys, which is a lie because he hasn't played, so they're lying too. But that's a different story, right? The Miami team has been such a better team as of late, especially in the second half of the year. They've covered in 5 of their last 6 games. The only game they didn't cover in their last game was against the Jets, which was really odd, okay? But defensively, they're stronger, they're healthier, they're getting Jalen Waddle back for this game. He's a red zone threat that they've missed. Now they can complement that with Devontae Parker. I just don't see how the Saints are going to move the ball in this game. So, of course, they have Alvin Kamara back, but the Miami Dolphins have been much better against the run. I don't see a path. I don't see why this is only at -3. Are you kidding? Give me the Dolphins. That's not even a question. There's no way that you can say no.
Yeah, I
There
mean,
is
this is literally Ian Book's first NFL appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
They
surprised.
don't even see him on the sideline. He's usually in the locker room.
I'm surprised to even know who Ian Book was. I had to look him up.
Trading cards.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like the ones that you get a lot. And like, no disrespect to Ian Book, but like this
Probably a
team,
nice guy.
like even if Taysom Hill was starting, or even if Trevor Siemian was starting, two-shot. Who do they have to pass to? Like the offense right now is Alvin Kamara. That is it. Mark Ingram. That is it right now. And so even if you're Ian Book, and even if you feel like the Saints after their win against Tampa Bay is something that you can be like, oh yeah, this is why they're getting all these points. Imagine having the Saints to win by 4 to win this bet. Like having them to win by 4 points to win this bet is a little bit too much for me. And you look at the Dolphins too; they've really read the show. I mean, Brian Flores needs to get credit where credit's due. This team started 1-7, and now they're potentially in the playoff race from the AFC. That is a testament to that coaching staff. And you see Tua's playing better, absolutely. Like Miami's 5-1 in the last ATS, and that, if they didn't cover that 10-point spread against the Jets the last time out, I think they're going to win this pretty handily.
Yeah, Jules, Miami was 1-7 when they took the field November 7th, and now they've picked up victories in 6 straight. I know it pains you, but you have to agree with Steve here, right?
It doesn't pain me. We're on the same side here. We talked about it on the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Thanks. Steve liked this a lot when the Dolphins were +3. So hopefully if you listened in, you maybe even got this one earlier in the week before the New Orleans COVID news. But the move is completely justified and still worth being on the Miami side. When you think about it, like it's a 5.5 point move to the spread, which sounds like a lot, but really Miami just going from +3 to -2.5. Like if they're going to win the game, they likely win by a field goal or more. So even the huge move in points, it's going through 0, which if you tease, which we give out a lot of teasers on this show, you never tease through 0 because it doesn't get you that much value. So this move isn't even that scary. Like it's not like a team going from -3 to -8.5 that gets you through all these key numbers. You can still bet Miami with just as much confidence even after the move. And it's a team that has a chance for a wild card spot and is playing really well and against a shorthanded team. So, yeah, I like Miami a lot.
Speaking of throwing out a teaser, Reed.
I'm surprised I'm the only one on the show with the teaser. I mean, these two guys wear the same quarter zip, and I'm the one wearing doing the teaser and wearing the nice Hawaiian shirt.
Thank
you. Appreciate that. Cincinnati, so I'm taking a tease. Cincinnati down to -1, so just to win the game, and Minnesota +9.5. And the reason why I'm doing this is a couple of things. I know Steve doesn't like the Minnesota side. He thinks the Rams are absolutely going to trounce them. But here's why I don't necessarily think that's the case. I still think the Rams can win. But if you look at the Rams games out of division, they're 2-4 ATS, and their plus-minus against the spread is only 2.2 in their games out of division. They played 2 strong division teams, primetime games where we saw that Stafford looked like the guy. Cooper Kupp is setting record numbers right now, so there's a lot of public money and a lot of public on the Rams, and rightfully so. They're playing better, but again, a defense that's playing a little bit above expectation. And look, the Minnesota Vikings, they're not a team that I necessarily think is going to go to the Super Bowl and win the whole thing. But I do think when you get Adam Thielen back, Kirk Cousins is extremely good under pressure with Adam Thielen in the game. If he's not playing, then that worries me. But he's in, so I do like that side. And the Cincinnati side, this is a little bit more personal. I think Cincinnati is going to win by a lot. But the Ravens have beat me twice in the fourth quarter in the last series of the game the last 2 weeks. So I'm a little bit peeved at the Ravens, and I need this little bit of insurance. Even though I think Cincinnati is going to win this pretty handily, I still don't think Josh Johnson, as their starting quarterback, guys who's played for essentially every single team in the NFL, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, without Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think he's just not a guy that can get this done. This is probably a good system for him. The Ravens have a good system. We're seeing that both quarterbacks before him in Lamar Jackson, who's an MVP, and then Tyler Huntley, who is playing well. Maybe it's that, but I just don't trust this at all. I think Cincinnati, we haven't seen that explosive game from them in a while, so I do like them. Getting a little bit of insurance here against the Ravens.
Steve looks like he's going to absolutely be sick. He's sickened by this bet.
No, I mean, I'm not sick. I just feel bad for poor Reed. I mean, he lost his bet last week because of Cincinnati. That was a real heartbreaker. Look, I am not on the Viking side at all, especially at the line that it's set at, but I can get down with him at 9.5. And obviously, you like the Bengals to win, so I don't like the Vikings much this week, but for you, I want you to win this bet just for your mental stability.
Jules, how do we feel about the Vikings?
Bengals side, I have no debate. That team should win. The Vikings, I just don't want to get in the way of the Rams right now. The Cardinals are falling apart, and the Rams are really starting to put it together. That's just not a team that I'm willing to get in the way of, especially with crunch time Kirk Cousins now towards the end of the season, playing for a playoff spot. No thank you.
2-0 in primetime over his last two.
Stop. Stop.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's keep the great plays rolling here on The Sweat. Each week we talk with former NFL lineman as well as broadcaster and podcaster Ross Tucker about his favorite plays on this NFL Sunday. So here he is catching up with the Dog Dad of the Year, Emerson Latzia.
Spills wine.
That's right. It's time for my good friend Ross Tucker to share tantalizing takes on this Week 16 slate. Starting here, Ross, with what is arguably the game of the week. So it's the Bills and Patriots for the second time in 3 weeks. The Patriots, their lead in the division is in jeopardy. Listen, probably no gale force wins this time. So do you think the Bills get their revenge?
I do. Yeah, I do. I actually really like the Bills as a teaser leg, but even like the Bills with the points. Now, I know they won't have Cole Beasley, who's on the COVID list, and that's a negative. That certainly hurts them. But I would envision the Bills to use Josh Allen's legs a lot more than they did in the first game. I don't know why they didn't use his legs more, quite frankly, with those wins, but he was very effective running the football against the Bucs a couple weeks ago. And they got to pull out all the stops, man. I mean, obviously trying to win the division, but just making sure they make the playoffs. I like the Bills in this matchup. I think they win the game.
You think the Patriots throw more than 3 times?
Guarantee it. I've never done that before on this show. I am guaranteed that the Patriots throw the ball more than 3 times. You heard it here first.
All right, that's my guy. We've also got a really tight battle in the AFC North as well. So it's the Ravens and Bengals. First place in the division is on the line. Cincinnati smoked Baltimore back in, I believe it was week 7. Which side are you backing here, Ross?
I like the Bengals. You know, at this point, it's really a shame, but the Ravens are just so beat up all over the place. They're missing guys. Some of it's on the COVID list. A lot of it's injuries. And I like this Bengals team, man. It's funny. Before the year, the only thing I thought I knew for sure about the AFC North was that the Bengals would be in last place. Instead, they're in first place right now, and I expect that to continue after they beat the Ravens.
Yeah, beat up secondary against Joe Burrow is not ideal for Baltimore. You got that right. Looking at this slate as a whole, though, dare I say we've got some live dogs looking to eat. The Lions coming off that win against the Cardinals. The Jaguars, they hit the road to face the Jets. Like even the Vikings at home against the Rams, that might be a play. Who was your favorite underdog this week?
You know, I'm going to go with the football team. I'm going to go with Washington. Now, I don't expect them to win the game outright. So I'm not talking about the money line. I'm talking about with the points. There's a couple reasons why. The Cowboys' offense is still not right. I mean, you watch them. Their defense is playing great, deserves a lot of credit. You know, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, they're great. But the offense is still just not in sync. And they really haven't been ever since Dak Prescott came back from his injury. Meanwhile, Washington's getting some reinforcements back. You know, they didn't have a bunch of guys that were out for COVID on Tuesday night's game against the Eagles. They're getting a bunch of those guys back. And as a result, I think they'll be able to keep this game close. I like Washington getting all those points.
Yeah, that's a brave call there. Cowboys NFL best, 11-3 ATS this season. Last week here, man, the Saints, they shut out Tom Brady and the hospital Bucks. I'm not sure anyone expects them to lose this week against Carolina. Still a big spread to cover, though. What concerns do you have about Tampa Bay right now?
Well, just the injuries. I mean, I expect them to bounce back. I expect them to win the game, but I can't endorse them to cover that spread when you consider Levante David, their star linebacker, Leonard Fournette. Those guys are out for the rest of the regular season. Chris Godwin's out for the rest of the year, period, after tearing his ACL. We'll see what happens with Mike Evans. He left last week's game against New Orleans. That's just a lot. That's a lot of what ifs, a lot of injuries, a lot of concerns to lay that many points. I'm not doing it.
Any other games you have your eye on this week?
The Vikings and the Rams.
Yeah.
Just a huge game. I don't know that I actually have a strong lean one way or the other. If I had to, I'd probably lean to the Vikings getting the points. But it's a huge game. I mean, the Rams are right there to win the division. They're battling with the Cardinals. Meanwhile, the Vikings need this win with their battle against both the Saints and the Eagles for the final. It's just an awesome game. I mean, there's just all kinds of, it's oozing with playoff implications.
And Matt Stafford returning to an NFC North road spot there, building he's very familiar with. How about in the land of fantasy? Like, listen, all these races, these playoff races, they're coming down the stretch. They're super tight. People need a winner right now, Ross. Help us out. Who's a dude you think who can produce some big-time points on the main slate?
Yeah, I'll give you two. One is Gabriel Davis.
Oh, yes.
Wide receiver for the Bills. He's a guy from UCF.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Cole Beasley's not playing, and Bill Belichick is not going to let Stephon Diggs dominate this game or beat him. That means Josh Allen has to find Gabriel Davis, and that means Gabriel Davis is going to find the end zone, maybe multiple times.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, I also love Craig Reynolds. Not just because the Lions running back's been cut 7 times, which is more than me. It's hard to be cut more times than I was. But also because he went to Division II Kutztown University in my hometown in Berks County, Pennsylvania. Good for you, Craig. He's been awesome the last 2 weeks. He's a legit NFL running back. I mean, he had 100 yards. People don't even know what team he plays for. He plays for the Detroit Lions. Craig Reynolds, running back. Get him in your lineup.
Ross Tucker, love you. Mean it. Have a great new year, dude.
Likewise.
You guys can check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and all of Ross's podcasts wherever you get your audio, or check out all the video versions on the DraftKings YouTube page. All right, we have plenty more to come here on The Sweat. We're going to dive into some DFS strategy for this week. Plus, we're wishing you all a Merry Sweatmas today. LOL. So Steve and Reed are going to unwrap some bets and tell us whether they're going to keep or return them when we come back.
Nothing in here. Cheap.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and today, new customers can bet $5 on their team to win, and if they do, you walk away with $150. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield, and you are looking at the Week 15 winning lineup for our Millie Maker contest. WPHSU 99 took down first place with a lineup filled with so many fire emojis, it didn't even matter that Devontae Adams delivered a snowflake. Not when he had Tyler Huntley going off for 35.9 fantasy points at just 2.6% ownership. Mark Andrews and Brandon Cooks also delivering over 30 fantasy points at low ownership. And we are making millionaires every week, guys, okay? So we actually had a chance to catch up with our Week 13 winner. Here's Emerson Latzia with Week 13 winner K-Land 304.
All right, let's turn back the clock here and welcome in our Week 13 millionaire winner on DraftKings. Taylor, congrats, dude. I love the big smile on your face. It almost looks like you just won $1 million.
That smile's been there for a week.
So I'm just looking at like your lineup here. You go with the double tight end strategy. You ended up picking the best dynamic duo. You got George Kittle. You got Dallas Goedert there, dude. They combined for, more than 74 DK fantasy points. What made you want to go in that direction, dude?
Essentially, the value of those players with the volume that they get. If you take a look at, a lot of the tight ends, talking about the DK salary cap, some of those really good tight ends are worth 5,000, maybe 4,900. You compare that over to the receiver and running back group, and the volume for those players over there at the skill positions, it just doesn't really compare. So it's just kind of a personal strategy. I love going with the 2 tight end set.
Nice.
Finally paid off.
Yeah, it certainly did. Literally, you also hit on all of your wide receivers, Godwin, Jefferson, and Johnson, all scoring north of 33 fantasy points. Like, are you the wide receiver whisperer here? Like, what's going on?
I wish I was, but that weekend apparently that was my name.
And then Gardner Minshew, dude, I love that. I love how you plugged Minshew in there. We all know how good he looks in jorts.
Exactly. I mean, I got to say he probably, although Kittle was my MVP,
yeah,
he was the last one playing the day he had. And just, when you're already up there and you only got one guy left, and then to watch him keep doing what he was doing all game, I got to give him my MVP. But without Minshew, none of it was possible because his value was just so low. He let me put in all those other players. I mean, the 3 wide receivers you mentioned, they're good, but when you look at them, these are elite guys to begin with,
Yeah.
So I really just was able to put the right team together at the right time.
And it's not too often we see these Millie Maker lineups here, dude, that actually have a snowflake emoji in it. Like Jamal Williams only got you 9 points, but
Correct.
You know what? He also got 22.5% of, let's see, the north of 192,000 rosters in here, like 9 points. So that's pretty impressive. You were able to overcome that. What was the sweat like for you, like watching this?
Man, all right, I'll give you the honest story. I checked out. There's probably about 10 to 11 minutes left in the last 2 4 o'clock games, and I was in about 16th place, winning about $3,000. And I put my phone down. I knew where I was at. I knew what could happen, the rise and fall that I could deal with. So I just kind of checked out. I had my wife sit down. I told her, "Hey, honey, number 18 here for Pittsburgh, we like him." And then number 85 over here, we like him too.
Yeah.
And man, not even 5 to 10 minutes after she sat down, Deontay Johnson catches that go-ahead touchdown. I knew then I had to be top 10. And then to watch Kittle just keep hammering it down, they end up getting stopped on a 4th, and the game ends. Seattle just needed out. So man, I'm sitting there telling her, I don't know where I'm at. I don't want to check, but honey, I think we just won some money. But I never in a million years dreamed I was sitting at the top. So I gave it about 10 or 15 minutes after that Seattle 49ers game ended. And then I finally opened up my app, and I dropped my phone. Immediately. I broke my phone when I dropped it. But I couldn't believe it. I walked out of the house. I heard my wife yell right when I walked away, "I knew we didn't win any money."
Oh my God. Well, the good news is you can now afford a new phone. And also,
true.
So is your wife now like the lucky charm? You got to get her to come sit next to you, like on the couch when you're watching these games and you're in a big contest.
Absolutely.
So did she know you were in like the Millie Maker contest here? Or is she thinking, it's just for like $100 or so?
Yeah, no. I mean, she knows that there's big payouts. I'd won $15,000 a couple years ago, but I mean, I don't go too hard, but I'm in it every week. This time I had 3 teams. Usually I'm anywhere between 3 and 6 teams. I mean, I'm pretty minimal in it, but consistent. And, she didn't have a clue. To be honest, I never was dreaming that when I'd open my app, I'd see that sitting up top. I was hoping for a 10th or maybe top 10.
Have you ever come close to winning one of these Millie Makers in the past?
A few years ago, I did win 15,000. I think I got about 6th place.
Okay.
Which when you're up there, even that day, which is funny, that day Kittle was my final player who was hammering home again. So that guy, I wrote him a DM on Instagram. He hasn't reached out, but I would love to try to somehow thank him because that guy has changed my life.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I get your phone's broken, so you get like your wife's phone. Like, who's the first person like you call and you tell, hey, dude, I just won $1 million on DraftKings?
Okay, I actually have my brother and my best friend Nick calling me. I'm watching my phone ring and ring and ring. Like I mentioned, I put my phone down and didn't check, so they knew because they're in the contest as well.
Okay.
They knew I won, and I had no idea. So give it about 10 minutes. I let like any little auto adjusting that I knew could happen. I mean, again, I'm thinking maybe I'm in 8th and I open it up and then it auto corrects and I go to 12th or something. And, I never even realized the pressure. But as they're calling me, I'm thinking, why are these guys calling me so much, And the minute I opened it up and saw, I knew why they were calling. But the first person I called is a good friend, Justin, of mine, and he's my hype man. Every Sunday, we get on the phone. Today's the day we're going to win $1 million,
Yeah.
And I had to let him know. He had no idea.
Yeah.
So after that, I called my brother back and my friend Nick, even though they already knew, and we did a little celebration. And before long, I had my friends showing up, my brother showing up at my front door, and we had a good time.
Yeah, they're all like, hey, dude, you have my Venmo like username, Oh God, that's great. What are your plans for the money? Anything big here?
No, nothing big off the top. Definitely gonna, use it smart, invest it as best we can. I think hurdle A is the taxes. So we're actually in the process right now of going through all that and figuring out exactly what the percent's gonna be. And then I think we'll take a little chunk of cash to splurge on and buy a couple things. But for the most part, we're gonna invest it. We have a daughter, so it's all gonna be future money.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, expect your wife now to have an upgraded Christmas list as well.
Correct. And I expect her to have a little more patience on Sunday watching football.
Yeah, right. She's like, oh yeah, I don't mind. If you keep winning $1 million every Sunday with DraftKings. Taylor, you were awesome, dude. Congrats and thanks again for hanging out with DraftKings, man. We really appreciate your loyalty.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and I thank you guys. Believe me, you changed my life.
Winner's coming because last week was our biggest fantasy football contest of the year, the Fantasy Football World Championship live from Miami, where user Vasa took home the top prize of $2.5 million. Vasa can thank Mark Andrews, Gabriel Davis, Aaron Rodgers, just to name a few, who had a big Sunday for his lineup. So with the W, he also earned himself a seat to the DraftKings Fantasy Tournament of Champions to compete for another $1 million in January. Congrats to Vasa, our DraftKings Fantasy Football World Champion. All right, time to help make someone else a millionaire this week. DraftKings contributors Julian Edlow, Jeff Ulrich, and Pierce Dietrich are here for a game of Put It on the Board. So I'm going to give you a player on this week's main slate. You write down how many DK fantasy points you think they'll score on your whiteboards. We're going to reveal, we're going to debate. All right, let's start with Matt Stafford. He's 6,700 at Minnesota today. Stafford completed 21 of 29 pass attempts for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception in Tuesday's 20-10 win over the Seahawks. That's good for 16.5 fantasy points. So how many does he have today, fellas? Let's reveal it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Julian, 27.7. 22. Wow, for Jeff, that's beautiful. Wow, Pierce, 22 as well.
I guess I'm wrong.
Julian, yeah, you think he's gonna have a big day. Explain.
I guess the correct answer is exactly 22.
It's 22.
But, yeah, I mean, we're all in agreement that it seems like he's gonna have a pretty good day here. The Rams can run the ball if they need to, but the Vikings are, ranked in the bottom quarter of the NFL in terms of DraftKings points allowed to the quarterback position. Cooper Kupp's playing extremely well right now. Odell Beckham's getting more and more involved. Van Jefferson. I just think there's a lot of options here. I think the Rams should get this game pretty handily and start to, run away with their division. It's just a good matchup and a good spot against a Vikings team that I don't trust at all in crunch time.
All right, Jeff, your number 22 was the prettiest, so you can start.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Look, if anything, Pierce and I are probably undercooking this a little bit. I mean, the Minnesota secondary is not good. You've got Cooper Kupp and now Odell Beckham, who, like, let's not forget. I mean, he didn't practice last week. He was barely a part of the game plan. Now he's got a full week of practice back. I think the only reason I put 22 instead of like 27 like Julian is that I think the Rams are also going to be able to run the ball a little bit. And Sony Michel's looked really good, average over 5 yards per carry. So I think he could potentially take away some of those passing touchdowns. I'm still looking for a strong day for Stafford, though. I think 22 is probably kind of like his median total.
Yeah, Pierce, do you agree?
Yeah, Stafford should be fine. They've already mentioned how well Kupp's playing. The offensive line's been playing well for the Rams. But Jeff's convinced me over the last couple of weeks that this Rams team is going to start looking to run the ball a little bit more. I think some of the yardage and the touchdown chances will go to the rushing game.
All right, let's move on to another quarterback. Jalen Hurts is at home hosting the Giants. He's coming off a 3-touchdown effort that included 296 yards passing, 38 more yards on the ground Tuesday against Washington. How many fantasy points does he put up today against the Giants' 19th ranked pass defense? What do we think, fellas? Let's reveal. All right, Pierce says 20. We got 25 from Jeff, 25.75 from Jeff, actually. And Jules says 24.5.
Good catch, Jesse.
Yeah, I did. I saw that, Jeff. So why don't you explain?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Jalen Hurts. He's healthy and he's playing the Giants. I mean, Jalen Hurts leads all NFL quarterbacks in red zone touches. He's basically got the same number of red zone touches, rushes, as the Philadelphia Eagles' leading running back. I mean, he is their offense. And he's looked pretty proficient as a passer. You know, he completed like well over 70% of his passes last week. Dallas Goedert really coming on. I think Dallas Goedert could go for a big game and just propel Jalen Hurts from kind of just his usual, like not even his usual, but just like a slow day for Jalen Hurts is going to be around 20 fantasy points against the Giants. If Goddard goes off for maybe a long touchdown, you're going to get over 25. So I could even see him pushing into the 30 mark. I think the Eagles win this one pretty big.
Jules, you do agree he's going to rack up a decent amount of fantasy points here?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Single digits just a couple weeks ago, or a few weeks ago against the Giants. But it's a good spot for Hurts. We just saw nearly 30 in that. We're losing count of our days. What was that? Tuesday night football, Monday night football, whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, Tuesday night football against Washington. He had a good week. I guess the only red flag here is the short week. Coming off a weird COVID game. But the matchup is fantastic. The Giants are a mess, and the guys they're putting out there today are probably only going to make them look like more of a mess. The only cause for concern here is that the Eagles really just beat the Giants good in the first half, and the second half is all Miles Sanders and takes away maybe from some of Hurts's rushing potential in this game. But yeah, he should have his way in the air, on the ground, either way, and surpass 20 fantasy points.
Pierce, I can't remember what number you put up, but I know it was the lowest.
Thanks for paying attention.
Yeah.
He had I got 20 for him, a little bit lower than these guys. There really is no reason to worry too much. We might be overreacting a little bit to the game against Washington, but Washington was incredibly depleted based on injuries. Giants might be in an even worse situation. So Hurts shouldn't have any problems getting points on the board. I think the issue we might run into is Miles Sanders gets the touchdown. So that's why I'm a little less aggressive with my projection.
All right, how about Ronald Jones facing Carolina today? And Jones is expected to serve as Tampa Bay's starting running back for the final 3 games of the regular season after the Bucs placed Leonard Fournette on injured reserve Thursday. So what do we think about his fantasy point total today? Let's see. Fellas, reveal. All right, 29, Pierce.
Oh, boy.
Does that say 98, Julian?
Oh, there's a decimal.
Okay. Julian says
That's called a tease.
9.8, not 98. 25.
Let's debate.
All right, Pierce, you can go first because you have him having the most because Julian wasn't going with 98.
Carolina has a terrible rush defense. Carolina's offense basically keeps their defense on the field the entire time. Tampa has the #1 offensive line in terms of adjusted rushing yards. We've seen Fournette and the massive upside that he's had. I know Ronald Jones isn't quite as good, but he still has a really good offensive line. He's got a good game script. He's not going to have to deal with any timeshare worries. You look at the times where Ronald Jones has got over 3 or 4 carries per game. He's getting 4.2 yards per carry. And the games where he's been given 8 carries or more, he's had almost 6 yards per carry. I don't think he'll go that high, but I think it's within possibilities that he has 5 yards per carry, 20 carries in this game where Tampa doesn't have as many receivers available. Give him 100 yards on the ground. He's going to get all the goal line work. I think he can absolutely explode this game.
Jeff, you're just below Pierce with the fantasy output at 25.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce pretty much just said exactly what I was going to say. I'm just going to apologize for my messy 25. Wasn't up to my standards. I pressed the erase button by accident.
It's
Everything
okay.
Pierce said, I think as well. Ronald Jones might actually be better than Leonard Fournette as an early down rusher. I think he's got tons of upside here. I wouldn't be shocked if he hit 30 points if he falls in the end zone twice, which could happen because the Carolina offense is so bad, and there's probably going to be a ton of red zone opportunities for him.
Julian, you were on the other end of the spectrum from these guys. You think he's going to have 9.8, not 98.
Yeah, well, the way Pierce and Jeff are talking about him, I might as well have put 98. Apparently, he's just going to score 1 million points this week. I picked this number for a reason. Ronald Jones' season high on DraftKings is 9.7. So I'm giving him 9.8 because I will admit this is the best spot that he's been in so far this season. However, Ronald Jones stinks, and I would not be surprised if one of these other bums in the Tampa backfield surpass him. We talk about the Carolina run defense. Oh, it's not that good. Well, then why have they allowed the third fewest DraftKings points to the running back position this season? There's other, like Antonio Brown, who we'll talk about later in the show, has a lot of incentives to get, and Tom Brady, for some reason, just loves his roommate Antonio Brown, even though he's kind of a psycho. He's going to force feed him the ball, screen passes or whatever to get him the ball, get him his incentives. They'll do that instead of hand it off to Ronald Jones. So sure, on volume, best spot of the season. I'm giving him his best fantasy outing of the season, but he's not going off. He's not going to have a huge game.
By 0.1 points. That was very generous of you, Julian.
I'm
Okay.
a nice guy.
Yeah, you are a nice guy. All right, Stephon Diggs is going to cost you $7,600 at New England. Now, in their Week 13 matchup against the Pats, Diggs led the Bills in all major receiving categories despite the extreme weather. So how do we think he fares today, fellas? Let's reveal in 3, 2, 1. Oh, 14.2 for Jeff. It looked beautiful. Pierce, 18. Julian, 10.5, making sure we can tell it's not 105.
Yes.
Pierce, go ahead. Tell us why.
I thought I was being slightly conservative. It's not a great matchup for him against J.C. Jackson, who's, as the cornerback for the Patriots, won Player of the Month last week. Defensively, he just got named to the Pro Bowl. Had a good season last year, although he did struggle with Diggs last season. He's got a top-tier PFF grade. It's a tough matchup, but it is still Steph Diggs, and they're going to feed him the ball. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his yards. I've got him going in the end zone. I think that's the big difference between the three of us.
Yeah, Jeff, you agree?
Yeah, that is pretty much the difference. I think the biggest thing here is not just the tough matchup. I mean, I think Steph Diggs can realistically go off against almost anyone. He's that good. But Buffalo's been spreading the ball out more. Like, you've seen Gabriel Davis develop into kind of just like a regular weapon down the field. He's getting used more. Dawson Knox is getting used more this year. It's not like Steph Diggs' target share is down in this offense. And I think you need to start calculating that in, especially against tougher pass defenses like New England, who can shut down teams' number one options. So I like Diggs for a more conservative day. I think Buffalo scores. You'll see a more spread between the receivers.
Yeah, Jules, you think he's going to have 10.5?
Yeah, and I guess I'm taking one of the things that Jeff said and thinking of it a little bit differently because they do spread it out, but like Buffalo's going to be without Cole Beasley and Gabe Davis are both on the COVID list, so they're not going to play. And that makes me feel that Diggs is going to be even more blanketed in this game. What Belichick does is take away that main threat. And when you can take away the main threat in Diggs and your next two wide receivers are out, yeah, I think Dawson Knox is the guy that's going to like get into the end zone, maybe an Emmanuel Sanders, maybe even an Isaiah McKenzie. Diggs will get a little bit of work, but I think that Patriots defense is going to clamp down in the red zone. So if Diggs does get in the end zone, probably on a bomb, and he's probably going to go way over the totals that we're putting up there.
All right, good stuff, you three. That's all the time we have. Thank you. Now, buckle up. It is time to send it over to Reed and Steve for a very special segment we are calling Bet the Halls. Take it away, guys.
Oh, yeah. Bet the Halls it is. Christmas may be over, but it is not over here in the DraftKings offices. Reed and I have exchanged some gifts.
Yes.
In all of these gifts, there are bets. We don't know what these bets are going to be. So we're either going to keep these gifts or toss them out of the house.
Yeah.
You decide. So I will let you open first
Okay.
because you need the gifts more than I do.
And since I've known that you have a couple of kids, you've got them pretty good gifts. So I'm expecting some good gifts in here. But you know what? You're Steve Buchanan.
Yeah.
You are the Grinch.
That is correct.
Okay.
Let's see what we got.
Let's see what we got here. Baltimore Cincy under. Baltimore Cincy under. Look, this one, I'm actually going to keep this one.
Okay.
I want to keep this one. I don't necessarily like keeping this for the Cincinnati side. I think their team total going over on that, whatever you can get it at. is pretty nice, but who is going to score points for Baltimore right now? You have Josh Johnson as the quarterback, like we mentioned earlier. He's played for every single team basically in the NFL. They're not running the ball well, Baltimore isn't, right? And they only have one pass catcher that's essentially worth anything, which is Mark Andrews. Marquise Brown can get deep, but at the same time, both of these teams, I don't necessarily see how the Baltimore side can get to it. The one thing that does scare me too also with this is that they both have bad pass defenses. They're really good at defending the run. But I do like this. I'm going to keep it.
You know, I knew you'd like that one. It was the last one left on the shelf. I said, I'm going to get this from my good friend Reed. All right, what do we got? Buffalo to cover. Let's just, we're not even going to talk about this one. Look, if I like the Patriots to win this game, and it's basically at 1.5 the spread right now, I don't like the Buffalo Bills to cover this spread. I can't say enough. We talk about Cole Beasley being out of this game. Big loss. Gabriel Davis, man, that is a loss that people aren't talking about enough. Has been a big red zone threat for them against one of the best secondaries in the league with the Patriots right now. Covering. Thanks, Reed. Great gift.
Also, one of those stocking stuffers that maybe you didn't need, like a couple extra socks that you didn't necessarily need. I thought maybe you might have liked it.
I got new socks yesterday.
Actually, I did too as well. It's like now you're older, you like. I digress. Let's go. Second gift here from Steve.
You're gonna love this one.
Hopefully, this is innocuous. Carolina to cover. Are you kidding me? Carolina to cover?
Why?
Against Tom Brady?
Oh, Tom Brady's,
Tom Brady?
cap.
That's where that's going, okay? There's no way. Who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback for Carolina?
Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, P.J. Walker.
Yeah, all three at once?
Yeah, exactly.
You know how good they've been so
P.J.
far?
Walker wide out.
Yeah, exactly. There's no chance. Like, Carolina's defense is fine.
I wouldn't say there's no chance.
Okay, there's a very slim chance because this is Tom Brady after a loss, after he got shut out. And we know against Carolina, he's got 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in Brady's career against Carolina. That's not great. But at the same time, there's no way that Carolina is covering here. I just don't see it. Yes, it's a large spread, but this is Tom Brady after a loss. I don't want it.
And that's fine. I really tried here. Okay. You just don't you don't want to give good gifts.
Hey, that's not a bad one.
I guess. Here's the thing, right? It's the day after Christmas. We're all broke as a joke as it is. So I'm going to put the very little money that I have left on Seattle to cover. I mean, they probably will, okay? But Seattle can't get the ball. Russell Wilson can't get the ball downfield at all. That offensive line has just been an absolute disaster, and it's constantly putting, Russell Wilson under pressure, but he's facing the Bears. The Bears with Nick Foles, Jeff Ulrich's boyfriend, Nick Foles. That's the guy he loves the most. I can't believe he didn't bring it up at all during the show.
Surprised.
Right? He only had one segment. This is the only opportunity. Here's what I'm going to say to this. I do like this one. I'm going to rip it slightly because I don't want to take it, but I guess when you're going with these two teams, Seattle's probably going to cover. So I don't like it. I ripped it a little bit. It's still intact, but
hey, Tyler Lockett is back.
Okay.
I mean, but that's better
Russell Wilson has to give. Just open your door.
Okay.
Russell Wilson has to give him the ball, though.
That's true. That's true. Okay. I thought maybe you would like that one because Chicago.
I ripped it slightly.
Bad secondary, yada, yada, yada. Rams to cover. Oh, please. We know. Like this one, I'm going to do the same thing you do. I'm going to take a little thing from you. I'm going to do this because I do think that they're humming right now. I think their defense is playing a little bit above expectation.
Yeah.
But I do like Minnesota. Oh. Hold on.
No.
The mere fact that the Rams aren't necessarily a good cover team this year out of division. They're 2-4 ATS, only covering teams by 2.2 points. That's the only thing that scares me. That line's at 3.5. I told you earlier in the show that I like to tease them up. I get why you like this one because they're playing really, really well. Minnesota secondary is garbage. That's why it's a little rip. Just tease this bad boy. You don't have to take it flat out.
But I'm asking you if the Rams are going to cover. Don't give me a tease answer. Yes or no.
I say no. I say half no, half yes. Gee, this guy's giving me a gift and telling me how to use my gift. Get out of here with that.
Tampa Bay, Carolina under.
Yeah, this is going to make you think. This is one that you could use. It's like a gift you could use in like 2 years.
Do you like this one?
I do like that
Good.
one.
Give me this one.
Okay, I'll take
You have this one. Okay? Now everybody's happy. You know what? You don't deserve this. He doesn't deserve that. How do you like that? All right, that's a little 3D action. Rams to cover. That's the play today. -3.5 for the Rams. That's the one you want to take, along with the Dolphins. Dolphins are going to win outright. They're going to cover. That's on Monday night. I want to give you a win today. That's this one. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Why am I even thinking about that one? I don't want to think about that. You know what I do want to think about, though? Going back to Jessie Coffield. She's a nice lady. Let's go back to her.
That was fun, guys. I'm over here dodging presents. Okay, thank you. Coming up, we're going to get a breakdown of tonight's Sunday Night Football matchup between Dallas and Washington. Plus, our panel will be giving out the picks that will make it rain cash for you all today. But before we take a break, here's friend of DraftKings, Gary Vaynerchuk, to tell you all about DK's newest podcast, and how you can win just by listening.
Hey guys, it's Gary V. Make sure you tune in to DraftKings YouTube channel for Die Hard Dialogue, where each week we do a listener league, DFS, and give away some of my highly valuable football cards, and we boost one prop bet. Die Hard Dialogue, DraftKings YouTube channel.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and today, new customers can bet $5 on their team to win, and if they do, you walk away with $150. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat on Bally Sports Networks. On your screen, you are looking at the NFC playoff picture because tonight's game in Dallas has some big implications on the race. The Packers are on top of the NFC at 12-3 after their Saturday victory over Cleveland, but the Cowboys are right there behind them and have goals of getting that top seed and a first-round bye. Dallas will take on Washington later tonight, and earlier in the week, DK host Adam Kaufman caught up with Dallas Cowboys beat writer Nick Eatman to preview the matchup.
We got a big game here for Sunday Night Football. Let's talk about it with Nick Eatman. He covers the Cowboys for the team's website. And Nick, of course, hosting Washington. This was a matchup just a couple weeks ago as well, and some of that we'll have a chance to get into as well. But, you know, you've got Dallas, a heavy favorite at home. This is a team that obviously beat the Washington football team a couple weeks back. Still with eyes not just on a division title, which is all but secured, but first place in the NFC, very much within the Cowboys' grasp, and sitting here at 10-4 along with multiple teams. It's crowded, man. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big game, and that's the thing. It doesn't – I mean, the NFC East is, you know, all but locked up. There's 99.9% chance, and you know, that could happen before they even kick off against Washington. But the thing about it is, like you said, you're playing for bigger things, and that's what, you know, you understand with tiebreakers. the Cowboys aren't far off from getting that number 1 seed. So, yeah, you want to clinch the division and a playoff spot and maybe rest guys, but I don't know if that'll be the case because there is a possibility of getting that 1 seed. And, of course, we know how important that would be to rest and to be hosting a game automatically in the divisional round. So, with that being said, I think you just get your blinders on, you stay the course, you focus week to week, and you keep knocking these guys out.
That said, is everybody scoreboard watching, or is it just owner Jerry Jones?
I think you scoreboard watch because that's what we do. You know what I mean? You don't have to scoreboard watch. It's all on your phone. I mean, stuff is all right there now. But so I think you're aware of the situation. But like I said, I mean, the good thing is that carrot is still dangling out in front of them of getting the top seed, which of course would mean home field throughout. And so, I don't think you have to scoreboard watch. Really, you just got to keep winning because, like you said, it's so crowded. If you got somebody in front, you got someone right behind you. They're going to play each other. So you just got to keep winning. I don't see a scenario where the Cowboys would go into even the last game of the year and not be playing guys to try to win.
Having seen Washington just a couple weeks ago, it was a touchdown win, 27-20, and that game was in D.C. Of course, this one in Dallas here. Any trends from that game that the Cowboys can take into this one with obviously the recency bias?
Yeah, I mean, kick them down early and then keep them down this time. I mean, if you're gonna punch them right in the mouth and then just keep punching them, then don't turn your back and let them get up and see what happens. I mean, it seemed like an old wrestling move there where they turn around and look at the crowd and all that, and the guy gets up and finally hits them back, and then we got a match here. Just put them away. They wanted to go in there and establish that win. They did. They were up 24-0. That's how much better they are. They got to keep that in place. And I don't see this one being that close. I mean, Washington's struggling right now. The Cowboys should have something to really play for Sunday night game. And I think that, they'll do what they need to do.
The last time these teams matched up, Nick, again, as far as an individual player, not a unit, because as we know, the defense shined. The fantasy star in that one was Greg Zuerlein. He had 4 field goals. He had extra points. He was great. He was terrific. But can you give us a fantasy stud for this game?
Man, I would say Tony Pollard. The thing about Washington is that they do have those good tackles in the middle. It's hard to run the ball up the middle. They're going to try to move on the outside. Pollard did not play in that game. I could see him kind of getting on the move a little bit more and trying to utilize his speed. I'm going to say Tony Pollard, maybe some catches out of the backfield. He'd be a guy that I would look at.
Before I let you go, this is just kind of a fun story people are talking about there. For anyone that hasn't seen it, Dak Prescott, DeMarcus Lawrence, of course, offense, defense. These guys seem to have a unique bet going right now about touchdowns here for the final few games of the regular season. What's this look like?
Well, I think the offense will get back on track, and maybe, I think it's touchdowns versus turnovers or but that's a tough one there because of the way that they're getting turnovers on defense. But there's a bounce back game going on here for the offense, and I think it could be against Washington.
Nick, enjoy the game. Obviously, best of luck to the Cowboys and happy holidays to you. We'll catch up with you
all right
soon.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well.
You are watching the final vlog of The Sweat. I'm Jessie Coffield, back with Reed, Steve, and a virtual Julian, and we are working up a sweat. And you know who was working up a sweat this last weekend? Our friend Emerson Latzia. He's not here right now, but he did manage. He was really sweating at his sister-in-law's house when he spilled a giant glass of red wine on the couch. He thinks he's a wine guy. He thinks he's a wine guy, but he clearly is not. So we'll work up a sweat here in the studio. Last-minute DFS takes for the Sunday slate. What are some things you may be rethinking right before lock? I'm sure Emerson was rethinking his decision to have that glass of wine. Julian, we'll go to you first.
Oh, my God.
Well, one thing that I'm rethinking is that I've never spilled a glass of wine on my in-laws' couch, and I don't plan on doing so in the future. I would say that's one of the more important things. Really rethinking nothing. There's so much great value on this slate, and nothing has happened to change my mind on it. The Chargers running back situation, Tampa pass catchers. Just play them, and you'll have plenty of salary left over to pay up for the guys you want.
Okay, so Julian's take is he has no take. Reed, what's your take?
Steve's reaction, that was great, by the way. Yes, no one wants to spill wine on anybody's couch, theirs or their in-laws. I'm actually looking at that Raiders-Broncos game, starting to think about trying to get more players in that game, whether on the Broncos side or the Raiders. Bryan Edwards is out with COVID-19, and Marcus Mariota, they were both put on the list just recently. Deshaun Jackson is there. But I also think if you take a look at the Broncos side, the Raiders defense is not good. Denzel Perryman should be playing. I think he's in, so that does bode well for the run defense, but they can't guard the pass. So I want to get more into this game and look at the over at 42.
All right, Steve, what do we think?
Well, first and foremost, I'm thinking about making all my social media accounts private because you people are animals to out him like that, but I love it. Just beat a man when he's down. Reed actually showed me during the break the amount of snow that's going into that Chicago Seahawks game. Give me some more David Montgomery. This game's going to be on the ground a lot in this one. I don't think, the Seahawks have not been a strong team against the run to begin with, but give me some more David Montgomery. I think he's going to be one of the more under-owned plays. 5,700, good play this week against Seattle, especially with the weather conditions now.
Oh, Steve, big weather guy.
Yeah.
Let's make it rain real quick. This is where you give us your DFS play that is absolutely going to make it rain cash for you and the people at home today. We're going to start with Julian, virtual Julian. What is your pick?
Probably nobody.
I'm virtually, Steve, it's nobody. I'm picking Antonio Brown because Tampa has nobody else for Tom Brady to throw to. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown comes back from a 3-game suspension, but he's been healthy, so no real injury recovery to worry about. Tom Brady's obsessed with him. I don't know why. And Antonio Brown has all these incentives to hit yards, receptions, touchdowns. He's going to force feed him the ball, and he's going to have a great game.
Steve, you're going with a man who's on fire right now.
Yeah, it's a total square play, but I have no problem with Cooper Kupp, but especially with this matchup here, Mackenzie Alexander has allowed the third most yards after catch, 312 amongst all quarterbacks. Cooper Kupp, 109 yards and a half for his over-under. Still taking the over, baby.
Yep.
All right, this gives you like a full minute, Read, so feel free to take it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Jesse. I'm going to lay back a little bit. No, Julian's slate-approved pick, or his Make It Rain pick, was everybody on the slate. So I appreciate that. No, just kidding. I do like that AB call. James Robinson, 5,900. The Jets D is allowing an average of essentially 2 touchdowns per game, and James Robinson played in all but 11 snaps last week. He's in another great matchup against the Jets, and he's not expensive enough. Give me James Robinson.
All right, guys, that's a show. I'm really glad we could embarrass Emerson.
That was great.
Though
that was so great.
He's not here, but he got embarrassed anyway. That's a show. We're going to be back here on Bally Sports Network next Sunday at high noon. And if you didn't know, we also do the show Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter pages. So have a great rest of the holiday weekend. Enjoy the games.
Careful with that wine.